The resolve drifted through the pale bands of Vorath 9 like a silver shard cutting silence. Its hull shimmered with adaptive plating, reflecting the storms below, amber clouds twisting endlessly around the gas giant's massive heart. Inside, Ambassador Marcus Hales sat alone in the observation deck, eyes fixed on the turbulent horizon. He didn't blink often. Not anymore. Each blink risked showing him flashes of New Avalon, the colony that had burned under an alien sun. He had watched the recordings enough times for them to etch behind his eyelids. The transmission always ended with static. Always. Approach vector locked, said the ship's AI, soft and precise. Docking authorization received from the Zarketh Imperial Station. Hale adjusted the cuff of his dark uniform, the silver crest of the Terran Confederacy glinting faintly. Any transmission from their delegation? None, sir. Silence since the acknowledgement code. Of course, he muttered. Silence, their favorite weapon. He rose, straightened his collar, and stepped into the corridor. The polished metal reflected his calm exterior, but his pulse, though steady, felt like a contained storm. The Resolve's doors slid open to reveal the alien grandeur beyond, a docking bay the size of a city block, filled with mist, light, and the distant echoes of machinery that hummed like a living organism. Alien eyes watched him from balconies above, reptilian, crystalline, insected. The representative of the newest interstellar civilization had arrived alone. The hull of Judicants dwarfed anything built by human hands. Spires of crystal rose from the floor, suspending bridges of light where alien dignitaries hovered on anti-gravity platforms. The ceiling projected a galaxy, not a star map, but the Empire's version of it, every system bearing the symbol of submission. As Marcus stepped forward, whispers followed. The Terran. The short-lived ones. The fire-breathers of Epsilon Prime. He ignored them. His shoes echoed sharply against the marble-like surface, each step deliberate. In the distance, atop a platform draped in gold filaments, waited High Chancellor Vordan Zelther, the creature who spoke for the Galactic Empire. Vordan rose as Marcus approached. The alien's eyes were twin spheres of dark violet light, his body a coil of armor and iridescent skin. His voice, when it came, vibrated through the chamber itself. Welcome, human emissary. The Empire acknowledges your arrival. May the storm of misunderstanding find peace in the calm of reason. The translator embedded in Hale's ear rendered the ornate phrasing into crisp English. He inclined his head slightly, no more. The Confederacy thanks the Empire for its hospitality, Hale said. We come seeking clarity regarding the destruction of our colony world, New Avalon. The chamber dimmed slightly as the alien lighting adjusted. Whispers rose again, some curious, others mocking. Few expected humans to speak so directly. Vordan spread his claws in a gesture of false benevolence. Tragic, yes. But regrettably, the universe is imperfect. Accidents occur when young species wander too close to the frontiers of greater powers. Marcus's jaw tightened. He took one measured step closer. You mean when they live on a planet you claimed afterward? The Chancellor's lips peeled back, the Zarketh equivalent of amusement. You have spirit. Admirable, in small doses. But accusations are not evidence, Ambassador. Hale's hand moved, activating a small holographic projector on his wrist. The air shimmered, displaying high-resolution scans of orbital bombardment trails, plasma residue, and the Imperial insignia burned into debris fragments. This is your evidence, Hale said. Thermal signatures match your fleet's weapons to a margin of 0.03%. The bombardment lasted 22 minutes. 50,000 civilians. Children. Farmers. Builders. A hush fell over the assembly. Alien eyes flicked from the data to their leader. Vordan examined the projection without flinching. Your data is creative. Forgeries can be convincing when crafted by desperate hands. Hale deactivated the display. Desperate hands? He repeated quietly. We've heard that before, from your admirals at Epsilon Prime. Right before their fleet went dark. The sound that followed wasn't exactly silence. It was a vacuum of sound, the kind that swallows breath. The aliens hadn't expected open defiance. Vordan's voice deepened. That was war. This is diplomacy. Know your place. Marcus met the alien's gaze, unblinking. I know exactly where I stand. I'm here because you destroyed a human world. I'm here because you called it a misunderstanding. And I'm here to make sure you understand something in return. Vordan's tail twitched once, a tell of irritation. He gestured toward the assembly. The Empire regrets your loss. Perhaps compensation. We don't want compensation. Hale interrupted, voice low but cutting. We want acknowledgement. Responsibility. Responsibility? The Chancellor echoed. For what? The Empire cannot be responsible for every dust mote that drifts through its dominion. Then perhaps you shouldn't rule a galaxy, Hale said. Gasps broke through the hall. A few species withdrew into the shadows, unwilling to witness what might come next. The Chancellor's guards shifted their stances. Hale didn't move. His expression was unreadable, but the tension in the room thickened until the air itself seemed heavy. After a long pause, Vordan spoke again, voice dripping with arrogance. You stand alone, human. No fleets, no allies, no power. You speak of justice while breathing air gifted by our grace. Do not mistake the Empire's patience for weakness. Marcus's eyes flicked upward, the faintest glance, almost invisible. Beyond the ceiling's false stars, in the void of space, a fleet waited. Invisible. Silent. Every Terran dreadnought cloaked, weapons cold but primed. He returned his gaze to the Chancellor. Patience, he said softly, is a virtue. But even virtues expire. The alien narrowed his eyes. Are you threatening the Empire? No, Hale said, straightening. Just reminding you, some storms don't ask permission before they come. He turned away, the conversation ended on his terms. The guards hesitated, unsure whether to stop him. None did. The chamber remained frozen in a strange, collective silence. As Hale walked back through the corridors, his neural implant pulsed faintly. A voice crackled in his ear. Commander Lyra, captain of the Fury, orbiting just beyond sensor range. Transmission received? You kept it contained? Barely, Hale murmured. They think we came to plead. Let them keep thinking that, she replied. Orders? Hold position. Eyes open. If I fail tomorrow, you'll know what to do. Understood. Good luck, Ambassador. He ended the link and paused by a viewport. Below, Vorath Ix's storms churned in eternal fury, massive, soundless, endless. He saw himself reflected in the glass, a single man facing an empire built on centuries of arrogance. He whispered to the reflection, almost gently. They think fear rules us. They've never seen what it makes of us. Then he turned, disappearing down the corridor, a lone shadow carrying the weight of a world that would not be silenced again. The Hall of Judicants shimmered beneath a cold white light. News of the first encounter had spread through the Empire like static through wire, every sector whispering about the human who defied a chancellor. Now, every balcony was filled. Hollow reporters hovered, streaming the meeting to worlds that had never cared about Sol before. Ambassador Marcus Hale stood at the center once again, motionless, his black uniform absorbing the light around him. The silver insignia of the Terran Confederacy gleamed faintly, calm, unyielding. Across the hall, High Chancellor Vordan Zelther reclined on his crystalline throne, coiled and confident, eyes glowing faint violet. The opening words came from the Chancellor, smooth as oil. The Empire welcomes this continuation. It is our hope that reason prevails over sentiment. Marcus's gaze stayed fixed. Reason begins with truth. A soft murmur rippled through the balconies. Some aliens leaned forward, curious. Others watched as if observing a condemned creature too foolish to know it yet. Vordan extended a claw, activating a hologram of New Avalon's orbital zone. The image had been doctored, empty space, faint radiation, nothing of the devastation. The Empire's archives record no offensive action. Your claims remain unsupported. Hale lifted his wrist device. His voice, measured and quiet, cut through the hall. Then compare this. A new projection replaced the Chancellor's illusion. It showed the real recordings, the flashes of descending plasma, the colony's surface shattering into dust, and a child's toy, half melted, floating through the smoke. The room felt dead still. Even the hollow reporters dimmed their feeds for a heartbeat. Vordan's tail twitched. Emotional imagery, he said dryly. You seek pity, not justice. Hale deactivated the display. No. I seek acknowledgement. You presume the Empire answers to you? No, Hale said. But you will answer for what you did. The alien's laughter rolled across the hall, low and venomous. A fragile species speaks of justice. You burn quickly, human. You fade. We have ruled since before your kind crawled from oceans. And yet, Hale said evenly, you still fear what crawled out. The words struck like precision fire. Silence swallowed the laughter. Vordan's tone hardened. You mistake tolerance for fear. The Empire's strength is mercy. Mercy? Hale's voice cooled to steel. Your mercy left craters. A wave of whispers surged through the crowd. Some of the lesser delegates, species long oppressed, watched Hale with something new in their eyes. It wasn't pity. It was recognition. Vordan noticed. His posture stiffened. This performance ends now, he hissed. The Empire regrets the loss of life. But accidents in border zones don't erase accountability, Hale interrupted. For a moment, their voices overlapped, two wills grinding against each other like tectonic plates. The hall vibrated faintly as Vordan rose to his full height. You will not lecture this council. Then listen, Hale said. Once, we thought the stars belonged to gods. Then we reached them. We found empires built on arrogance, not divinity. You rule through fear, Chancellor. But you've mistaken restraint for weakness. The Chancellor's nostrils flared. Are you threatening the Empire again? I'm reminding it what happens when it ignores warning signs, Hale said. Ask your admirals from Epsilon Prime. The crowd stirred. Everyone remembered that battle, how an entire Imperial armada vanished after engaging a single Terran defense fleet. The official record called it spatial anomaly. No one believed it. Hale turned slightly, addressing the hall. Your Empire calls us impulsive. You mistake speed for recklessness, adaptation for chaos. We're not like you. We don't wait centuries to react, we evolve while you deliberate. Every time you struck us, we learned faster than you recovered. A low hum of nervous chatter filled the air. The Chancellor's lieutenants exchanged uneasy glances. The calm tone of Hale's voice made his words land heavier than shouting ever could. Vordan stepped forward. His massive claws clicked against the crystal floor. You want an apology? You want a name to blame? Then name one of your own who caused it. Human expansion provoked. Provoked? Hale's eyes flashed with restrained fury. We built homes on barren soil, far from your claimed systems. You came uninvited, dropped fire, and left. Call it what you want. The dead don't care for semantics. The Chancellor leaned close, his shadow falling over Hale. You presume equality. That is your flaw. The Empire rules because it must. No, Hale said softly. You rule because you fear losing control. That silence again, sharp, dangerous. Even the air filtration seemed to hesitate. For a long moment, the two figures stood locked in that tension, one towering and ancient, the other mortal and immovable. Then, Hale reached for the data crystal embedded in his tablet and placed it on the Chancellor's dais. Inside is your truth. Fleet records. Internal transmissions. Names of officers. All traced through your own encrypted channels. The Chancellor blinked. Impossible. Not for us, Hale said. We learned your codes the day your ships entered Sol space. You're not as opaque as you think. The alien's eyes dimmed slightly, a flicker of realization. Hale had planned this for months. The Terran Confederacy had infiltrated Imperial networks quietly, collecting proof of their crimes. And now, the entire galaxy was watching it unfold live. Vordan tried to regain composure, but the damage was visible. You come here to provoke war. No, Hale replied. To prevent the next one. He turned toward the galleries. Humans are patient, but we remember. We won't strike first, but if struck again, we'll end it swiftly. A voice from the balconies, thin, alien, fearful, called out. You speak as if you already hold that power. Hale didn't look up. We hold something better. Memory. And patience long enough to turn it into preparation. The hall felt smaller suddenly. The Chancellor's breathing was audible, slow, and deliberate. Hale knew the signs, he'd studied their species tells. The Chancellor was losing emotional control. You overstep, Terran, Vordan growled. You insult every world represented here. If truth insults you, Hale said, perhaps it's deserved. A ripple of uneasy laughter escaped one balcony. The Chancellor's glare silenced it instantly. He exhaled, voice low. This meeting is adjourned. The Empire will deliberate your accusations privately. Hale's lips curved faintly. Deliberate all you want. The truth doesn't need your permission to exist. He gathered his device, turned, and walked toward the exit. Each step echoed like a countdown. The moment he left the chamber, a discreet pulse reached his earpiece. Commander Lyra's signal from orbit. Status? She whispered. As expected. They're stalling. Phase 2? Not yet, he said. Let them drown in silence first. He cut the link and kept walking, the murmur of alien voices fading behind him. The corridor outside was dim, lined with murals of the Empire's conquests. Each depicted some species kneeling in defeat. Hale paused before one that showed humans, primitive, exaggerated, shackled beneath alien overseers. He stared at it for a long moment. History, he murmured, is about to get an edit. He walked on. Above the station, hidden in the shadows of Vorth Ix's rings, the Fury and its escort fleet drifted unseen. Their engines idled, silent as thought. Every ship was armed, not aimed. Every weapon slept. Inside the hall, the Chancellor's advisors whispered urgently around him. He knows too much. They couldn't have decrypted us. Then how does he have that data? Vordan said nothing. His claws tapped the dais, eyes locked on the door Hale had exited through. For the first time in centuries, he felt something he hadn't felt since ascending to power. It wasn't anger. It was unease. He whispered to himself, voice nearly trembling. What have we awakened? The storm outside the station churned like a living god. Lightning forked through Vorth Ix's atmosphere, reflecting against the hull of the Imperial Citadel in cold flashes. Within its grand hall, the galaxy watched. Every world connected through the Empire's network tuned in to see the final confrontation. Ambassador Marcus Hale stood at the center again, calm as before. The polished floor beneath him reflected the image of a man outnumbered but not outmatched. The Resolve had transmitted one last encrypted message an hour earlier, confirmation that the Terran fleet had reached full position beyond sensor range. Now silence ruled the chamber. Even the whispers from yesterday were gone. The air carried weight, as if the Empire itself was holding its breath. High Chancellor Vordan Zelther descended the dais, flanked by his guards. His usual composure was gone. His movements were too precise, too calculated. He forced a smile that didn't touch his eyes. Ambassador Hale, he said, you stand before the Empire once more. This council has reviewed your claims. It finds no fault. The incident on your colony was unfortunate, but irrelevant to matters of governance. Hale didn't move. So that's your verdict, he said. 50,000 lives rendered irrelevant. Lives end, Vordan replied. Worlds rise and fall. It is the nature of civilization. No, Hale said evenly. It's the nature of empires. A murmur stirred among the balconies, faint but rising. The Chancellor's tail twitched, betraying irritation. You've had your hearing. This audience is concluded. Leave while my patience remains intact. Hale clasped his hands behind his back, the gesture that had become his signal. Understood, he said. Then allow me to give you ours. He tapped his wrist device. The lights in the hall flickered once, then again. The holographic ceiling showing the Empire's star map began to distort. One by one, systems marked in gold turned to black. Confusion erupted. Dignitaries rose from their platforms, shouting in their native tongues. The Chancellor barked orders, and technicians scrambled, but the darkness spread across the map like ink through water. Hale watched quietly. You're losing contact with your border sectors, he said. Every communication relay within 6 parsecs of Sol has gone silent. What did you do? Vordan snarled. Nothing irreversible, Hale replied. We disabled your networks. No ships destroyed, no lives lost. Just silence. The Chancellor's voice cracked with anger. You dare interfere with the Empire's systems? We warned you to stop treating us as subjects, Hale said. Now you'll learn to listen. He gestured again, and new images replaced the darkened map, live feeds from Imperial outposts. Fleets drifted powerless, their reactors dormant. Command centers glowed red with warning lights. On each feed, the same message pulsed across alien screens in multiple languages. You attacked our home. Gasps filled the chamber. Hale's voice remained calm. We don't seek conquest. We don't want your worlds. But if you strike us again, the galaxy will remember this silence as mercy. Vordan's claws scraped against the floor. You threaten us with extinction? No, Hale said, his tone cold. We promise consequence. The Chancellor lunged forward, towering over him. You think your people can stand against us? Your ants pretending to wield fire. Hale met his gaze without flinching. Fire doesn't care what steps on it. It burns anyway. The hall fell into stunned quiet. Every alien delegate felt the shift, the moment when power no longer sat with the Empire. Vordan's guards moved to restrain the human, but Hale raised a single hand. Before you try, consider this. The fleet surrounding your capital carries enough warheads to end the station in under 30 seconds. They're not armed. They're not hidden. They're just waiting for me to stop talking. He let that sink in. The Chancellor froze. Every eye in the chamber fixed on Hale, and in that silence, the weight of centuries of Imperial dominance began to fracture. You misunderstand us, Hale said softly. Humans don't crave control. We crave safety. We asked for dialogue. You sent fire. You expected submission. You found resolve. He walked toward the center of the dais, and placed a small crystal cube beside the Chancellor's throne. Inside, the recorded voices of New Avalon's last transmission played quietly, the sound of a child calling for help, then static. That's what you erased, he said. That's why we're here. Vordan's voice faltered. You mean to hold the galaxy hostage with sentiment? No, Hale said. With truth. He turned to the assembly. Your empire calls us dangerous. Maybe we are. But we never strike first. Remember that before believing the stories you're told. A soft, electronic tone chimed in his ear, Commander Lyra's signal. The fleet was ready to disengage. Hale gave a subtle nod. Outside, in the darkness beyond the gas giant's rings, Terran ships decloaked for a brief moment, dozens of titanic silhouettes appearing like ghosts. No weapons fired. Then, as quickly as they appeared, they vanished again into the void. The message was clear: we're here. We're watching. Hale faced the Chancellor one last time. You called us children of a small world. You're right. But that world taught us something you forgot: what home means. We don't conquer stars to rule them. We explore them so our dead have peace beneath their light. Vordan had no reply. The arrogance that had shaped an empire's spine cracked under the weight of realization. So what now? He whispered. Hale regarded him for a long moment. Now you live with what you've done. The next move is yours. Choose peace, or you'll find us waiting again. He turned and walked toward the exit. No guards followed. No one dared. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the hall like the heartbeat of something vast and unstoppable. As he reached the doorway, Hale paused and looked back. "You attacked our home," he said quietly. "But you won't get another chance." Then he was gone. Aboard the Resolve, the engines hummed softly as the ship detached from the docking ring. Commander Lyra stood beside him on the bridge, her expression tense but proud. "You think they understood?" she asked. Hale watched the storm below, its massive clouds lit by flashes of blue lightning. "Understanding isn't the goal," he said. "Remembering is. And if they retaliate? Then they'll meet what they built," he said. "A civilization that refuses to kneel." The ship accelerated, the view of the Imperial citadel shrinking into darkness. Hale opened a small hollow projector and began dictating his report. His voice was steady, but beneath it lingered the exhaustion of a man who had carried a planet's grief too long. "Diplomatic mission concluded," he said. "Negotiations failed, but message delivered. No casualties. Objective achieved, deterrence through exposure. The Empire knows what we are now." He paused, closing his eyes. "For the record, New Avalon is avenged without a shot fired. That's the closest thing to victory humanity will ever need." He ended the recording and stared out into space. The gas giant's light reflected across his face, gold and cold. Beyond it, the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent but no longer unreachable. Commander Lyra broke the silence. "Orders from High Command? Hold position near Sol. Quiet readiness. We'll wait." She nodded. "And you?" "I'll sleep," he said softly. For the first time since they died. The Resolve vanished into the void, engines fading to silence. Behind them, the great empire remained still, its pride fractured, its networks dark, its rulers staring into the shadow where humanity had disappeared. The galaxy would not forget the day the smallest empire made the oldest tremble.